चलें स्टार्ट कर लें। Okay, should we start? You all can hear me?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, so let's begin. Om Agyantimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutaha Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamshta Shri Rupam Sagarjatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamshta Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swamiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Ashtatadesh Dharine Vancha Kalpatarubhishta Kripa Sandubheva पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 रामो राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा. So last week we had begun the second chapter. So we saw the first three verses. So today we will do from text 4. So text 4 is as follows. Arjuna Vacha Katam Bhishmam Aham Sanke Dronam Cha Madhusudana Ishubi Pratiyotsyami Pujara Varisudana. Arjuna said, O killer of enemies, O killer of Madhu, how can I counteract with arrows in battle men like Bhishma and Drona who are worthy of my worship? So, in this section, the first 10 verses of the second chapter, we saw is the theme of Guru, why it is important to accept a Guru in spiritual life. So, till here, the first verse number 2 and 3, Krishna is telling Arjuna that, my dear Arjuna, how has this weakness come in you? Even though Arjuna is showing the sign of compassion, he actually doesn't want to kill even his so-called enemies. But Krishna doesn't approve this compassion. Krishna is not calling it as compassion, but he's calling it as weakness of heart. And Krishna is telling Arjuna that you are born in a great family, you're the son of Kunti Devi, and you come in the dynasty of the Bharat Kul. Therefore, it is not right for you to act in such a cowardly way. So Krishna in text 3 tells Arjuna, give up such weakness of heart and arise. Shudram hridaya dorbalyam tyakto uttishta parantapa. My dear Arjuna, give up this weakness of heart, arise and fight. So in response to it, Arjuna is telling Krishna, my dear Krishna, so he is calling Krishna by two names, Arisudana and Madhusudana. So just like Krishna is calling Arjuna in different names at different points in the Gita, Arjuna also calls Krishna by different names. So in this verse, he is using two words to address Krishna. One is Arisudana and the other is Madhusudana. So what does Arisudana mean? Sorry. So Arisudana means the killer of an enemy. Ari means enemy. So Sudana means one who kills. And what is Madhusudana? Madhu was a demon. There was a demon called Madhu. And because Krishna killed this demon, one of Krishna's name is Madhusudana. So Arjuna is calling Krishna as Arisudana, Madhusudana, and telling Krishna, you are the killer of demons. But Krishna, you are not called as Sandipani Sudana. Sandipani is the guru of Krishna. So Arjuna is telling, my dear Krishna, you killed demons, but you did not kill your own guru. You are not called Sandipani Sudana. You are not called Ugrasen Sudana. Ugrasen is the grandfather of Krishna. So Arjuna is telling Krishna, you didn't kill your guru, Sandipani Muni. You didn't kill your grandfather, Ugrasen. But you are telling me to kill my guru Drona and my grandfather Bhishma. Is this correct? So just like, when a parent instructs a child or a teacher instructs a student, it is expected that the parent or the teacher is also following the instruction he is giving the student, he is giving the subordinate. So Arjuna is telling Krishna, my dear Krishna, you are telling me to kill my guru, you are telling me to kill my grandfather, but you didn't kill your own guru, you didn't kill your own grandfather. How can you tell? How can you tell me to do this? And if anyway you want them to be killed, why don't you only go and kill them? Why you are involving me in this battlefield? If it is your desire that they should be killed, then why don't you kill them? Why should I get involved? This is Arjuna's logic. So the point is, Arjuna doesn't understand that we all need to take responsibility, even the process of bhakti. In the process of bhakti, yes, Krishna's support is definitely there, but the process of bhakti or spiritual life is not to make us lazy. We have to do our own responsibility, and in carrying out that responsibility, Krishna's assistance is there. Just like in this war of Kurukshetra, Arjuna had to fight, but Krishna's assistance, constant guidance was there. But in the forefront, Arjuna had to fight. Krishna didn't tell Arjuna, Prabhupada quotes in the lecture, Krishna didn't tell Arjuna, just sit in the chariot and relax out, chill out, and I will fight. That is not the Gita's recommendation. Krishna tells Arjuna, Ma manusmara yuddhacha. Remember me, think of me and fight. Think of me and do your duties. Don't run away from your responsibilities. So spiritual life is not about escapism. It's not about running away from responsibility, but it is about taking more responsibilities for Krishna. So we can't expect that I have become a devotee, Krishna will do everything for me. No, we will have to do our responsibility. So we will have to cooperate with the will of Krishna. Just like you find, this slide that you see is Brahma and the demigods go to Shir Sagar. Whenever there is a lot of demons that come in earth, Brahmaji goes along with the demigods to this ocean of milk, and they chant Purusha Shukta prayers and tell Lord Vishnu that you please descend. Only you can help us. So before the advent of Lord Krishna, Brahmaji along with the demigods and earth in the form of a cow go to Shir Sagar and pray to Lord Vishnu. And Lord Vishnu tells them that I will surely come, I will advance as Lord Krishna, but all of y'all will also have to take birth in the Yadukul, Vrishtikul and all other dynasties in order to assist me. Krishna doesn't tell the demigods that y'all sit and relax, I will manage the show. No, Krishna tells them, y'all want me to come to help y'all, I will come sure, but you also will have to take birth and assist me. Even in the Ram Leela, again, when the demigods go to Lord Vishnu and pray that, the atrocities of Ravan and others, Lord Ram says, definitely I will descend, but all of y'all will also have to take birth as monkeys in order to assist me. So for the demigods to become monkeys is not an easy thing, it's like quite a low role. But all the demigods accepted because they wanted Ravan to be killed, and for them, the Supreme Lord comes as Lord Ram, but they also have to do their own responsibility. So Arjuna is expecting here in one sense that Krishna will take care. Krishna will kill Bhishma and Krishna will kill Drona, but no, Krishna is going to be there to guide Arjuna, to inspire Arjuna, but the fighting Arjuna has to do on his own. So in our own spiritual life, Krishna's guidance is there, but we have to fight our own war. We have to fight Maya along with the guidance of Krishna, along with the wisdom of Krishna. So we all know that in this Damodar Leela, there's a very famous pastime of Lord Krishna where Yashoda is tying Krishna to this ukal, a very beautiful pastime. So in this pastime, when Yashoda is trying to bind Krishna with ropes, every time she gets ropes and she's trying to bind Krishna, she finds that the rope falls 2 fingers short. She gets more ropes, more ropes. Practically all the ropes of Vrindavan, still it is 2 fingers short. And the acharyas explain that these 2 fingers represents what? One finger represents the mercy of Krishna, and the other finger represents our own effort, the effort of a devotee. So for Krishna's mercy to come, both things are needed. For anything to be successful in life, for any endeavor, these two things are needed. Our effort is needed, but our effort alone is not enough. Krishna's mercy is also needed. Right? So both these things are needed. So we can't expect that only Krishna's mercy. I will not put my effort. No, it can't happen. And we can't say that only effort. I don't need Krishna's mercy. That also is not possible. So both these things are needed. Just like Prabhupada would give this example. I mean, Henry Ford, became a billionaire, a successful person, but he was actually a mechanic, a simple person who became Henry Ford. So someone may say, how did he become Henry Ford? Definitely, there was hard work involved. He put in a lot of hard work, but his hard work itself enough. There are so many other mechanics who might have put much more hard effort than Henry Ford. Why they didn't become successful? Because God's mercy was not there with them. So both these things are needed. Effort is needed and God's mercy is needed. Imagine if Henry Ford had God's mercy and he didn't put that effort, will he get the result? He will not get the result. So we need to put effort and depend on God's mercy. Just like when people do farming, how do you do farming? You till the land, sow the seed, and wait for the rain to come. Isn't it? So you have to till the land, sow the seed. That's your effort. And you have to wait for the rain to come. That's God's mercy. So now, if you say everything is God's mercy, so I will not till the field, I will not sow the seed. If rains come, will the plants actually come about? Will you get an yield? No, because you didn't put your effort. And if someone just puts in his effort, tills the field, puts the seed, but rains don't come, still it's no use. So both these things are needed. So Krishna's mercy is definitely there, but along with that, our effort is also needed. So Arjuna is telling Krishna that Krishna, you only do the effort. But no, the process of bhakti is we also have to do the effort and we have to cooperate along with the will of Krishna. It is our responsibility to cooperate with his will. So here there is a very important principle that Arjuna is teaching us. The principle of respecting superiors. So let us try to understand what is the mood of Arjuna. So Arjuna is thinking that how can I kill my superiors? How can I ever think of killing Bhishma, who is his grandfather, and Dronacharya, who was his teacher? So Arjuna's culture, because he was a very cultured personality, that culture taught him to respect superiors. So this is an Indian culture, a Vedic culture, respecting superiors, isn't it? Touching the feet of elders, touching the feet of, bowing down to people who are more knowledgeable to us than us, who are more mature in age than us. Respecting others is something very, very important. That's why, in India, our Vedic culture, we have Namaskar. What is Namaskar? We are offering respect to the divinity that is there within another person. So respecting superiors is a very, very important culture. I think we discussed this while we were discussing the first chapter also, that in Vedic culture or in any proper civilization, 5 kinds of people need to be respected, protected, and taken care of nicely. The first is the Brahmanas, the second are the cows, the third is children, the fourth is women, and the fifth is elderly people. So respecting and protecting these five people is very important. And out of them, the elders, respecting them is important because they have much more experience than us. They have much more wisdom than us. So respecting them. One time there is a story of a young man taking his father to an old age home. Hmm. As he was taking his father to an old age home, they were walking and going, and it was like an emotional time that he's leaving his father forever in the old age home. So in between the father, there was a park bench. The father said, "Let us just sit here." And they just sat together, and he started to cry. The father started to cry, and the son was thinking, "Oh, I know the father is getting separated from me. He's feeling bad. He's crying." But the father told him something that was shocking to him. The father told him, "I am not crying because of me. I am crying thinking about you. Because today you are taking me to the old age home. When you grow up, your son will take you to the old age home. Because culture gets passed on, isn't it? So, thinking about you, your future, I'm crying." So, as soon as the son heard this, he brought the father back. Because the way we treat our superiors, the people who are subordinate to us will also treat us, and a culture will follow. So respecting superiors is something that's very, very important, especially respecting spiritual authorities. Hmm. Talking to them in a very respectful way. That's how you gain knowledge. That's why in Vedic culture, you always have guru who sits on top and a disciple who sits down. Why? Because for knowledge to come, humility has to be there. Without that sense of respect, human knowledge doesn't seep in. Hmm. For knowledge to come, someone has to really be humble. And Arjuna and the Pandavas were trained so nicely to respect superiors. In fact, even before uh, the war started, the conch shells were blown. Yudhishthir gets down from the chariot and walks towards. He removes his helmet and walks towards the Kauravas. And Krishna and Arjuna are tensed because Yudhishthir, can do anything. He can just compromise. He's like a Gandhi type personality. So Krishna and Arjuna were worried. What is Yudhishthir going to do? What is he up to? And Yudhishthir walked straight and fell at the feet of Bhishma, touched the feet of Bhishma and asked Bhishma, "Please bless us so that we can become victorious." He went to Dronacharya, asked blessings from Dronacharya, went to Kripacharya, asked blessings from Kripacharya. And all of them were so happy that even though Yudhishthir is going to fight against them, these people are the enemies of Yudhishthir, still Yudhishthir is respecting these personalities. We see even before when uh, the Pandavas were in Virata Desh, Agyatwas, the last year of incognito, and that time the Kauravas attacked Virata Desh, and Arjuna is dressed as, he's become this eunuch, Brihannala. So that time, as soon as the war is about to begin, the first thing Arjuna does is he takes arrows and shoots it at the feet of Bhishma and Drona and Kripa, asking blessings. And then he shoots an arrow passing their ears. So first he asks blessings, and the second he asks them permission so that he can actually fight. So this is a very, very important culture, the culture of respecting others. So in our Vedic culture, in Indian upbringing, everything is thought to be respected. We respect people based on their age. We respect people based on their position. We respect people based on the knowledge. We respect people based on their spiritual advancement. We even respect animals and things. So everything is respected in Vedic culture. So someone who is superior to us in age, it's important that we respect them. You know, we give them a seat. Whatever is needed. Someone who is more superior to us in position, like a leader, a prime minister, a chief minister. It's important that we respect their position. And someone who has more knowledge than us, even though they may be lesser to us in age, but someone who is more knowledgeable to us should be respected. Mhm. And then ultimately, someone who's more spiritually advanced than us. Like the Bhagavatam setting, when Parikshit is cursed that he will die in 7 days. So Parikshit comes to the bank of Ganga, and all the biggest sages, the most elderly senior sages, Vyasdev, Narad Muni, practically everyone is there. And amidst all of them, Shukdev Goswami enters. Shukdev Goswami is the son of Vyasdev. At that point, Shukdev Goswami was only 16 years old. Only 16 years old. But as soon as Shukdev Goswami enters that assembly, all the sages get up to respect, to offer respect to him, leaving one or two, Vyasdev and Narad Muni. Practically everyone gets up to offer respect to Shukdev Goswami. And Shukdev Goswami is giving a pravachan for 7 days, Bhagavad. He's speaking on Bhagavatam. And all these great saints, the elders of Shukdev Goswami are sitting and hearing. Why? Because they all know that Shukdev Goswami may be lesser to them in age, but he is much more spiritually advanced. So therefore, he is given that kind of respect. So it's important that we respect others, and especially when it comes to spiritual life, you really don't know who is advanced and who is not. Like in Chaitanya Charitamrita, there is the story of a father and a son. So both were devotees of Lord Chaitanya. The father's name was Mukunda Dutt, and his son was Raghunandan. So Mukunda, uh, every day he would offer bhoga to Krishna. They had a deity of Krishna, and every day they would offer bhoga. And one day he had to go out for a trip outside. So he told his small child Raghunandan that you please, mother will cook. You please go and offer this bhoga to Krishna. So Raghunandan agreed. So Raghunandan went inside and offered the bhoga to Krishna. Generally Krishna has darshan, and that's all. The bhoga is accepted. He accepts that bhakti bhav. But Raghunandan started to cry and tell Krishna that please eat this, please eat this. So Krishna told, I have already eaten. I have seen, I have eaten. But Raghunandan was so innocent. He told Krishna, no, you have to eat it. Until you eat it, I will not believe that you have actually eaten. So for the pleasure of Raghunandan, Krishna actually ate it. And when Mukunda came back, he was shocked. Every day he's offering bhoga to Krishna. Krishna never ate from his hand, but Krishna ate from the hand of the small child. So later on, Lord Chaitanya meets Mukunda and Raghunandan, and he's asking Mukunda, my dear Mukunda, you tell me who's the father, who's the son? And Mukunda says, Raghunandan is my father, I am his son. Why? Because Raghunandan's bhakti is much more than me. So it's very important that in devotee circle, we respect others, even though they may be junior to us, because we really don't know who has made how much spiritual advancement. Now, someone whom we have preached to might have made much more spiritual advancement than us. We never know. So it is better safe to respect everyone and be in this mood that probably the others are more advanced than me. Like Srila Prabhupada had this mood. Prabhupada would tell his disciples, a guru telling his disciples, that all of you all are much more advanced than me. All of you all, please bless me so that I can serve my Guru Maharaj sincerely, like the way you all are doing. So this is a sincere mood, a wonderful relationship devotees have among each other based on respect. So I had years back I had heard this very interesting story. One time in a particular Christian church, the congregation members of the church were reducing day by day. And all of the members, the inmates of the church were thinking, why is this happening? Why are people leaving and going? So as they were thinking about this, there was another person who came there, and he saw that there's a problem in this church. So he called the inmates, the brothers who are there, and he told them that one amongst you all is actually a Messiah. One amongst you all is very, very special and an advanced soul. He told this and went. After that, day by day, the congregation started to increase again and the church became full. Why? Because this person told the brothers, the inmates of the church, that one amongst you all is actually the Messiah, the chosen one. So each one was thinking, I am filled with so much faults. I can't be the chosen one. Probably the other person is the chosen one. So everyone was thinking that the other person is more advanced than me. So therefore, they would respect each other. And because they were respecting each other, there was so much love and bonding amongst each other. The congregation observed this, and they got attracted to this church, and the crowd, the congregation actually grew. So the point is respecting others based on their spiritual advancement. And then finally, respecting even animals. Uh, why? Because animals also have life. Hmm? They are also living beings. So when we say namaskar, we are actually offering respect to that Paramatma within everyone. And that Supreme Lord resides within everyone. Just like Krishna tells in the Gita, Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Gavi Hastini Shuni Chaiva Supakecha Pandita Samadarshina. So Krishna says, who is a Pandita? Who is a person in knowledge? A person in knowledge is one who respects human being, a Brahmana, a dog eater, a dog, an elephant, and he sees everyone with equal vision. Equal vision means he sees that divinity, that spiritual spark within everyone. So therefore, respecting even animals, respecting things. What to speak of respecting animate objects, animate things, we should even respect inanimate objects. And this is our Vedic culture. Hmm? We don't touch a book with our leg. Never do it. We don't touch a pen with our leg. If a pen is fallen, you don't pick it with your leg. You pick it with your hand. You don't kick anything with your leg. So that's why football, in one sense, is not a Vedic culture. Because in Vedic culture, you don't kick anything. You use your hand for moving things. Our Gaur Gopal Guru, probably all of you all know Gaur Gopal Guru. So he tells this very interesting story when, as a brahmachari in our Radha Gopinath temple, uh, when he had initially joined the monastery, as a brahmachari, was washing clothes. Right? So he had a bucket in which he would soak his cloth in surf, and then he had another bucket that was filling with water, and he would rinse the cloth there. So he pushed this bucket, one bucket, with his leg. And the time a senior monk, was passing through, and he told him, "What did you do?" Gaurav told him, "What did you do means what? I just pushed the bucket." So I said, "How did you push it?" He said, "I pushed it with my leg." So the senior monk told him, "That's not right." And Gaurav was thinking, "What's wrong? What's wrong in pushing a bucket with your leg? That's the most easiest thing to do." Then the monk explained the mentality. He said, right now you may push a bucket with your leg, which shows disrespect. Very soon you will start pushing even people out of your life because of this disrespect. Because attitude in one area seeps into another area also. If you have a wrong attitude in one area, that attitude will seep in another area. You may disrespect an inanimate object now. Very soon you will start disrespecting an animate object, an animate person, and you will think that just forget it. Why do you value anyone? So this culture of use and throw, is not a very healthy culture. It's not a sustainable culture. Why? Because ideally you are supposed to be using a thing for a very long time. You don't have this use and throw culture. Like again, Gaurav Babu often gives this example that we know that in India, when t-shirt or a shirt or a kurta gets torn, you stitch it and wear. You don't just throw it away because it's torn. You stitch it and wear. After that also, when it gets really torn, you wear it probably to wear it in the night, to go to sleep. So really torn, you use it for Holi or something. And if it's really bad, you use it for pocha, to mop the floor. The point is, everything has its utility. You respect it. So in our culture, if you respect thing, if you respect an inanimate object, how much will you respect animate people? And Srila Prabhupada was so particular. I can tell you n number of stories from the life of Srila Prabhupada, how Srila Prabhupada was so sensitive and respectful to things. In those days, in the 1970s, when ISKCON had started, there would be so many people who would write letters to Prabhupada. Prabhupada was so intelligent and respectful. Prabhupada would keep the covers of those letters. and he would cut that cover envelope of the letter, and he would use that paper again to write another letter. He wouldn't just throw it away. And Prabhupada would tell the Western disciples, you all have come from a very rich country. I have come from a poor country. I know the value of things. For you, this envelope may be nothing to you, but I know what is the value of an envelope. In this lockdown period, so many people have realized what is the value of money, what is the value of simple things. When there is when you have a lot of things, you really don't value simple little things in life. So Prabhupada would save all these envelopes and keep. So particular. One time, Prabhupada was in Mayapur. This is our headquarters of ISKCON near Calcutta. Prabhupada was, walking, and Prabhupada told the disciples, I can hear some sound. And the disciples were attentively trying to hear, where is that sound? Where is that sound? And they found that there is no sound at all. And then long distance away, there was a tap that was leaking. Prabhupada told them, close that tap, because that water belongs to Krishna. You see, when you follow spirituality, you start to respect even resources, even water, electricity. You start to respect it because you know everything has value. And the culture of respect actually seeps into other areas. This video, I can't play this video, but this is a very interesting video. I'll show you all some other time. This is when Modi ji was the Chief Minister of Gujarat. He had come to inaugurate Radhanath Maharaj's Journey Home book in Gujarati. It was translated in Gujarati, so he was called as the chief guest to inaugurate it. So in his speech, he made a very interesting point. So he said, in India, the land of India is such that even river is respected. We don't call Ganga Yamuna. We call these rivers as mothers. Mother Ganga, Mother Yamuna. So we see rivers, the culture of the Vedic culture is to see rivers as mothers. And when we see rivers as mothers, will we contaminate the river? Who will pollute his own or her own mother? No one will do it. So when you see that this river, Ganga, Yamuna, Mandavi, whatever, Narmada, Sindhu, Kaveri, all these rivers are spiritual mothers, we will value them. We will not contaminate them. So he was making this point, the day river became H2O, the day river just became plain water, you start contaminating it. Why? The sense of respect is gone. So that's why in our culture, earth was respected. Bhumi Devi, she was considered to be the mother. She's one of our mothers, respected. Cow, when you see cow as a mother, you respect the cow. When you see cow as a lifeless entity, then you want to exploit the cow. So in our Vedic culture, everything was respected. Even rivers, trees were respected. That's why no one would contaminate waters. So this is a very, very important principle that Arjuna is teaching us, respecting others. Otherwise, as I told you, when you have this culture of use and throw, use it, throw it, use it, throw it. So this culture of use and throw comes in relationships also. Use people, throw them. As long as someone is useful to you, keep them with you. As soon as they become useless, throw them away. As long as the cow gives milk, keep her with you. As soon as she becomes old, send her to the slaughterhouse. So this is not a sensitive human culture. A sensitive human culture is you try to protect people till the end. You try to protect the thing, respect and value the thing as much as possible. So there is a saying, do not do unto others what you do not want to be done to yourself. So you put yourself in other situation. Would you like someone to treat you the way you are treating others? Then why do we treat others in the same way? Because in the law of karma, everything comes back. You have this boomerang effect. You throw a boomerang, it actually comes back to you. So similarly, if we treat others badly, that will come back to ourselves. I told you the story of this man trying to take his father to an old age home. So everything comes in a circle. So therefore, learning this culture of respect is very important. Very, very important principle. Respecting devotees, respecting elders, respecting superiors, respecting even animals. One time Prabhupada went to a zoo with his disciples, and his disciples started to make fun of a lion. And Prabhupada told them, don't make fun of the lion. He's the king of the jungle. Respect him. So Prabhupada was teaching people, his disciples, the culture of respect. We need to respect even animals for what they are, and we need to respect even things. Because how much you value what is with you, that is the way it is decided whether you can be given more. So who is given more blessings and opportunities? One who respects what is given already. When you value what is given, if you take care of something nicely, if someone has given you a house to take care, or if someone has given you a laptop or a mobile to take care, you take care of it nicely. So if you are not careless about it, if you take care of it nicely, then you will be blessed with more. But if you don't take care nicely, what you have also will be taken away from you. So give respect, and then you will get respect. So this is the way you give respect first. We should not expect respect. We should give respect, and then naturally people will start respecting us. This is a bhajan of yeah. So I'll just end with this. So this is a bhajan of one of our acharyas. He says, "Sakale samana korite shakati deho nata jata jata tabe tu gaibo harinama suke aparada habe hata." Very beautiful. He says, "Sakale samana." He's praying to Gurudev. The name of this bhajan is Gurudev. My dear Gurudev, Sakale samana karite shakati. Give me the strength so that I can respect everyone. Deho nata jata jata. According to their own positions, may I respect everyone. Why? Tabeto gaibo harinama suke aparada habe hata. Because only when we respect others, we will be able to chant the holy name blissfully without any offenses. So one of the biggest obstacles for us to chant is offenses. And one of the reasons, the only reason we offend others is because we don't respect others. So therefore, when we respect everyone, as I told you, thinking that everyone is more advanced than us. You all know the story of Dronacharya sending Yudhishthir out to the kingdom, and he's telling Yudhishthir, go out in the kingdom and find someone who's better than you. So Yudhishthir goes and says, there is no one, he tells Yudhishthir, go and find out someone who's worse than you. So Yudhishthir goes out and tells Dronacharya that there is no one who's worse than me. I'm the worst. Because he could find something good in everyone. So when we learn to respect others for whatever they are, and when we see the good in others, then offenselessly we can chant the holy name in a blissful state. Trinadapi Sunichena Taroreva Sahishnana Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari. So one who is the person who can chant the holy name constantly? One who's in this mood. Amanina Manadena, who doesn't want respect for oneself but is ready to give respect. So such a person can constantly and blissfully chant. So just like I told you, Arjuna and the Pandavas are so cultured here that even before the war, they go and ask blessings from their superiors. And here in this verse, Arjuna is has such a broad heart. He's telling Krishna, how can I kill my own superiors? So when we respect Krishna, we automatically respect everyone else. And when we learn to respect everyone else, especially superiors, we are able to respect Krishna. So both these things go hand in hand. Respecting Krishna and respecting others. Worshipping Krishna and respecting others. So it's not that we just respect Krishna and we start criticizing everyone. It doesn't work like that. So this culture of respect is something that's very important. And in such a fertile heart, where there is respect, the seed of bhakti actually grows. And Prabhupada, we will see in text 6 when we will come to it. So Prabhupada says that Arjuna was competent in all these attributes over and above his enormous attributes in his material relationships. So Arjuna, this is the starting of the Gita, but Arjuna is showing all of us that when we have this kind of mood, the kind of mood that Arjuna has, ready to forgive others, ready to offer respect to his own superiors, always grateful. So Arjuna at this point is feeling so much gratitude for what Dronacharya and Bhishma have done for him. Even though towards the later part of his life, they sided with the Kauravas, but Arjuna has not forgotten that the position he is in right now is only because of the blessings of these superiors. Because of the blessings of Guru, Dronacharya, because of the unlimited mercy that Bhishma showered upon Arjuna. Because Arjuna's father Pandu died when they were very small children. So Bhishma Dev took care of these children almost like a father. So Arjuna, remembering all these things, is eternally grateful. So being grateful to what others have done to us is something that's very, very important. And only in a heart that is filled with such gratitude, the seed of bhakti can grow very, very nicely. So from text 5, we will continue the next week. Anyone has any questions? Okay. Fine. All of y'all are able to chant your rounds? Is chanting going on well for everyone? Anyone would like to share your own experience of chanting, or any challenges that you all face in chanting, how you all are trying to overcome them? Yeah, you all can unmute and speak. Okay. So let me ask. Sharmila Mataji, how's your chanting going on?
Very well, Prabhuji.
How many rounds you are chanting?
3 rounds now I have increased. 3
Very
rounds
nice.
early in the morning, around about 6:30.
Very nice, very nice. Good.
It has helped me a lot, Prabhuji.
Okay.
Brought me a lot of patience.
Yeah, yeah.
And have control over my anger.
Very nice, Mataji.
I really enjoy doing that, Prabhuji. Trying to increase my rounds.
Yeah, yeah. You can do it slowly, slowly. You can increase.
Yes. By 3 rounds, I start losing my concentration. So I stop there for the 3 rounds. But I'm trying to increase it.
Yeah. So slowly you can go to the next step. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yes. What about the others? Vishwakumar Acharya. Are you chanting? Vidya Vinay Vaidya Mataji. Neena Shah. I'm just calling out names so you all can unmute and tell us that whether you all are chanting, not chanting, how many rounds you all are chanting. Raj Menanpu.
Yes, Prabhuji, I am chanting. Presently, I'm doing 2 rounds. I had increased to 3, but then due to time constraints, I had reduced it to 2.
Okay, okay.
But I will be definitely improving it, increasing it.
Okay. Yes, great, great, great. Yeah. Anyone else? Okay, Meena Mataji is saying chanting 2 rounds. Great. Sureka Harish Mataji. Preeti Mataji. Are you able to chant?
बहुत अच्छी तरह से हो रहा है चैंटिंग.
Okay, okay. Great, great. बहुत अच्छा. 11 rounds. Great, wonderful. So please continue to chant. That's one of the most important things. Because all these qualities, as I told you, these qualities of respecting others, it works when we chant Hare Krishna also. Krishna blesses us with these qualities. So on our own, it's very difficult to develop these qualities, but the process of chanting is very important. Yashasti bhaktir bhagavati akinchana sarve gune tatra samasate sura. The Bhagavatam says that if we worship Krishna very sincerely, then all divine qualities actually start to come. So one of the best ways in Kali Yuga is to chant Hare Krishna. So when you do this, all these qualities of humility, tolerance, slowly start manifesting. So Sharmila Mataji is asking, can we start class for Bhagavatam? I do these classes, Mataji, every day morning at 8:30 in my Facebook page. So I've completed the fourth chapter of the second canto, taken a break. From Monday onwards, we'll be starting the fifth chapter. So it's like every day morning, 8:30 to 9, half an hour I do this. So we do like 2-3 verses together. So you all can attend those classes also. So in that way, you all can follow the Bhagavatam. Is that fine, Sharmila Mataji?
Yes, Prabhuji. I hear that Bhagavatam on the YouTube channels where you have uploaded your videos. I have finished Canto 1. I'm in Canto 2 now.
Okay, but you can also follow the Facebook Live, which I'll be doing from Monday onwards.
I'm
So
not
that-
on Facebook, Prabhuji. That's my problem.
Oh, but I think as soon as the class starts, they put the link in the group. Do they do that?
I
The
don't,
what-
I'm aware of that.
No,
They don't put the link in the WhatsApp group?
no, I think no.
I'll tell them to put it in that WhatsApp group.
Yeah, that will.
So though, if you all don't have Facebook, you all can just click the link and you all will get the live thing.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay? Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Hare
Prabhuji.
Krishna.